Welcome to the Care Share Day webinar being organized by EMlyon Business School, India for the hospitality sector. The topic being current hospitality trends, strategy for changing times. And I welcome our esteemed panel and all our lovely students who have joined us for this webinar. Our heartfelt gratitude to all of you to take out time from your busy schedules to be a part of this webinar. I would, of course, like to start this with something that Mahatma Gandhi had said, that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And well, who knows this better than those associated with the hospitality sector? So as many of you would be aware, EMlyon Business School, a triply accredited business school and one of the leading business schools in France and across Europe, and the India operation, which started its journey during the pandemic amidst a lot of trial and tribulation, and is now roaring with a lot of action happening and gearing up for more, just like the hospitality industry. And because we care, we want to share relevant information and we want to help students who are going to be the future drivers of this industry. We wanted to bring experts, academicians, and students under one platform for this webinar. As we all know, the industry suffered a big setback during 2020 and 21, and even the beginning of 2022. However, over the last 6 months, things have started changing. There definitely appears to be an appetite for travel, and the year ahead definitely looks promising. And the industry is poised for continued growth and technological innovation. In fact, as per Statista, by the end of 2031, the global hotel and resort industry market is estimated to grow at a CAGR of 8.1% and reach $1.27 trillion. Of course, there are emerging trends that the industry has to keep note of, be it the emphasis on hospitality, sustainability initiatives, experience economy, or the rise of blended travel. Times are changing, and let's not forget that the challenges of labor shortage, inflation, geopolitical concerns, these would always lurk around the corner. So what should be the strategy, the roadmap to navigate these challenges in the sector, and how can students who are soon going to be the professionals in this dynamic and ever-evolving industry that encompasses so many fields from hotel management, real estate, tourism, events, restaurant experience, health and wellness, how can they also contribute in this process? And we have the perfect blend of experts and academicians in our panel today to help us achieve this objective. So please welcome our wonderful panelists. We have with us Ms. Alice Schentel, Sales Director at the Monte Carlo SBM. A very warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
We have with us Ms. Athena Salim, General Manager, Taj Connemara, Chennai. And I just heard that she's joined us despite the rain and the flood situation out there. So a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Diksha. You're doing really well. Good afternoon to all my fellow panelists. Lovely to meet all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we have with us Mr. Bruno Broncard, Regional Director, Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So welcome, Bruno, onto the panel.
Thank you, Diksha. Happy to be with you.
We have with us Dr. Francis Thomas, Head of Department Management Studies, IHM Mumbai.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Very warm welcome to you. We have with us Mr. Eric Vogler, Director of MSc in International Hospitality Management, EMlyon Business School. A very warm welcome to you, Eric.
Thank you, Diksha, and hello, everybody.
So, and of course, we also have with us Mr. 𝐞𝐦𝐥𝐲𝐨, Analyst, Noises Capital Advisor, and an alumnus EMlyon Business School. So, very warm welcome to you, 𝐞𝐦𝐥𝐲𝐨.
Thank you so much. Coincidentally, I'm also an alumnus of IHM Mumbai for a bachelor's. Hi. And Mr. Thomas has been instrumental in guiding me so it's very to both colors.
Great. So both the institutes, and you are so you represent both EMlyon and IHM Mumbai right now on this panel. So warm welcome to you. And of course, my motivation, my inspiration, Mr. Ashley Fernandez, India Head of EMlyon Business School and Board Member, IFCI. Very warm welcome to you, Ashley.
Thank you, Diksha. Thank you. Thank you all for being on this panel. And thank you to participants.
All right. So unfortunately, just to inform, since Ms. Shraddha Ghosh, Principal of IHM Bhubaneswar, could not attend because of an urgent work in Chennai today, but she sent her best wishes. So just for all our students, I would just like to let you know that we'd be happy to get the perspective from each of our panelists here on the topic, and then later open it for questions from all of you. However, you can keep asking your questions in the chat box even when they're speaking, so that we can, in the Q&A session, and we can take them up after the discussion. So without any further delay, since we've already been a bit delayed, let's get started. And I would first request Mr. Ashley Fernandez, India Head EMlyon Business School, also an alumnus of EMlyon Stanford, to give the opening address and set the tone for today's discussion.
Yeah, once again, thank you, Diksha, for the organization and for this incredible opportunity given to the prospective students to have a look into this industry. Now, if I look at the industry we're talking about, and I'm sure Nitilesh will have these points in the coming survey his company is going to do on the industry. If you look at the the inflationary pressure, the streamlining of operations, cash flow management, hiring and restaffing, rising inflation, rising interest rates, political tensions, all that are extremely important constraints that are looming on this industry after the COVID period. But there are also, there is also a shortage of skilled labor, that's a very interesting point for prospective students. And if you talk about, increase in cost of staff, it also means that the value of staff is very important, and quality staff is something that people in the industry, the actors, are going to look at. To give you a short perspective of two of the brands that are present, and I thank them for being there, Société Banmer and Taj Group. If you look at the way they've been impacted by COVID, obviously, 2021 was a very difficult year, but if you look at their figures in 21-22, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm talking under your control, Alice, you guys posted a turnover of 530 million, which is basically a 57% increase year on year. And you have capitalized on events like the Rolex Monte Carlo Masters tennis event, the Formula 1 Grand Prix, etc., that come and fueled your attendance. And it gives me a small little I would like to digress a little bit here, since XCBS is also part of the Indian operations. We are in Orissa, and the government of Orissa has very much linked tourism and the hotel industry, and it's always important to have these big events that are part of your ecosystem. If you look at the Taj Group, I mean it's been heavily impacted, but there also they have recovered extremely well. I'm sure Tina will give us some insight into how they did it. But if you look at what they've done, they've done a lot of reaching out to their community, to the stakeholders. They've tried to create some new forms of revenues, Q-Men being the catering service that has expanded to different locations. They've launched different frameworks, like if I'm not mistaken, Patya is a 6-pillar framework to drive the company's sustainability and social impact. And they've also recorded the highest number of new hotel signing in India and hotel launches in India. So they've sort of tried to manage these dire situations. And it's very, very important to understand that, even in times of crisis, there is always an opportunity. And this is a subject that we've touched upon a lot when we curated the Care, Share, Dare talks that Diksha talked about, because we believe that in a time of crisis, it is also a time of opportunity. If you look at the etymology of crisis, in fact, it just means change, and it depends on how you're going to tackle that change. So everybody started talking about dukkha 2 years ago, and we addressed the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity of the market. But we also tried to propose another framework for the coming world, and we also discussed about BANI, which is basically brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible world. And this is basically what the students, actually every actor is tackling now. I mentioned two strong brands. I mentioned Taj Group, and I mentioned the Société Banmer, which are also very old brands, very traditional brands. And that's what I think is very important to understand, that if you are a strong brand, and you believe in your legacy, you also have a sense of responsibility to overcome these difficult situations. And if I may, the three most significant lessons that I would like to put forward is and I believe that's what Alice and Athena and all of you are tackling every day, is that it's important to invest in people, in community, and in stakeholders. It's also important to demonstrate strategic spryness and to continue to learn and reinvent, because financials are one thing, but people, a strong people workforce is a very important thing as well. And it's always important never to waste a crisis, because as I said, a crisis is an area, a way, a means to experience new possibilities. And if I recall, before the crisis, the conversation was mostly about process versus people. Should we put processes before people, or people before processes? I think the Taj group, once again, I have a great admiration for the brand and for the people. I think they came up with something that is which is a synthesis of both. I think it's called people processes. It's about resilience, it's about adaptability, agility, and it's about key leadership behavior. It's about continuous communication, and it's also something that I think is very, very important. It's finally a high level of probity in communication, which is essential to integrity from all quarters. I think there has been a flight to quality. There's been a flight to integrity, because there has to be meaning and there has to be purpose. And that, as Diksha has been saying, that resonates a lot with us at emlyon in general, but also at emlyon India in particular, because as I said, when the pandemic started, we launched this Care, Share and Dare platform, because as Diksha said, we care for our students. We want to share information, and I keep saying that when we talk about that, we want to separate the signal from the noise. There's a lot of noise going on, but what is important is to have the right signal to be able to chart your course. And there again, we want to dare our students, because we want them to turn constraints into opportunities, because at the end of the day, we believe that they should be able to build their own future. And that's what the early maker is all about. And let's not forget that at emlyon, we have the early maker pedagogy, which enables our students to make their own future. So thank you all for being on this panel. I hope we have a great interactive webinar. And once again, the floor is yours, and I'm looking forward to a very, very exciting exchange of information with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for those wonderful words and for setting the context today. So we'll be straight head towards a discussion with our esteemed panel. We have with us Ms. Alice Gentle, Sales Director at the Monte Carlo SBM, and well, we all know SBM is Monaco's biggest employer in the hospitality sector. 4 prestigious hotels, 2 casinos, more than 30 restaurants, bars, nightclubs, 3 luxury spas, wellness retreat. And while Monaco might be the second smallest country in the world, when it comes to hospitality, fun and festivities, they are huge. So we are definitely privileged to have with us Ms. Alice, who's also, by the way, an alumnus of emlyon Business School here with us today, representing the school and also the global hospitality sector. And I'll straight get into the discussion with her. This sector has definitely bounced back post-COVID. That's something that we are getting to see in the last 1 year. So what do you think are the positive takeaways for now? And the second part to my question would be that, there are still umpteen challenges, including shortage of manpower, human resources, which even Ashley touched upon. And how do you think this can be tackled, and so that, more and more professionals can join this industry in the days to come?
So thank you again for allowing me to be part of this discussion. The first thing I would like to say as a very positive information is that when Ashley was saying that the progression versus 2021 was about 57%, what I want to say is that our figures versus the 2019, before the pandemic, our figures of this year are up by 25% versus 2019. So before pre-pandemic. So that is even more important. And it shows the resiliency also of the industry. And it shows that luckily SBM did the right thing before the pandemic. I would say one thing is our company is 150 years old. It is owned at 60% by the government of Monaco. And it means that the money the government puts is very high in maintaining, developing, and modernizing our properties. We completely redid the Hotel de Paris and the Casino Square. The reason I'm saying that is one of the strategy of the company was to invest very highly in products, but also highly in people. And the positive is also that we almost never closed our properties during the pandemic. Only one of the 4 hotels for 2 months. So the message to the world was that we remained open and that we were security very strong with the COVID. What does it mean? It means that the personnel is, the teams are very important within our company because we maintain their employment during the whole time. And what do we believe in is the level of service, adaptability, as you were saying, the quality of offering and investment. So when I joined the hotel industry, I was at emlyon and nobody, but I say nobody would ever enter the hospitality industry at that time. And I want to say something right now. The best time to enter an industry is when the industry is in a crisis, because there are opportunities, great opportunities. And at the time, I remember that I was telling to myself, in the world of blind, the one eye is king. So if you have a very good academic background and you enter an industry which is evolving, you have the future in front of you. Because this is a hospitality industry, and hospitality means people. And a people world always has opportunities. For me, that would be the core of the message.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's very relevant, and particularly for students who are, who are here and who want to, join this industry. I think it's a very, very right kind of a message that you have saying that you should be joining any industry, for that matter of fact, when it is in crisis, because that's when there are opportunities and you can take advantage of it and make the most of it. So yeah. I think that's a wonderful message. Thank you so much. We'll of course come back to you again on the other queries that we discussed. But moving from Alice to Athena, I would like to, for all our students, I would like to inform that Alice just spoke about good education as well, and even if I'm not mistaken, she's done a course at American Hotel and Lodging Education Institute at Rizvi College, Mumbai, and then you've also done your post-graduation at the Oberoi Center for Learning and Development before, of course, falling in love with the hospitality industry, and her journey stands testimony to that. So we've got a global perspective from Alice, of course, but on the Indian side, how would you define the current scenario in the hospitality industry? And you've been a part of it for some time now. So what do you think are the trends that are going to define or maybe redefine the sector in the next few years?
Thank you, Diksha. I must compliment you. You have a wonderful smile. It's just so endearing. India had its toughest times during COVID, besides the entire world, and the hospitality industry was drastically, given the loss of jobs. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people were without salary. It was very painful to see what many people working for many years, holding very important positions, some senior positions, lost their jobs overnight. As we speak, of course, the demand is back. Hotels are full. My hotel sold out. The entire Chennai city is sold out. I believe other metro cities are also doing well. But what is important for all hospitality leaders, especially I'm sure around the world, and in India is to be able to be strategic on decision making during crisis. Like you rightly said, it's about people, it's about adapting quickly. I've worked in an international brand, and now I work in an Indian reputed brand like IHCL, who stand testimony for looking after their people, bringing people back in case they were not able to keep them in some of their hotels. They've brought them back. They've led with compassion. They utilized, I think a lot of hotels right now have understood the importance of using technology well, because during the pandemic we realized so many businesses had to resort to technology where various applications were there. 𝐞𝐦𝐥𝐲𝐨𝐧 was one example Ashley shared. A lot of things have to be just an application away for the comfort and convenience of the customer. So many guests, we realize, just drive down and take holidays now. They don't have to take a flight to enjoy a vacation. So it's understanding these trends and navigating to ensure that the business remains sustainable. I think that's what a lot of Indian owners are also understanding, that hotel costs are, they just keep going up, whether it's the fixed costs, the variable costs. It is an expensive business, and you do need deep pockets. You have investors and things like that, but it's important. What I see now, the sort of sustainability practices that many owners have adopted, understanding how do you manage the talent pool, because now that we realize there is an exodus of very good talent which is moving out to other industries in India. So even we are going through that churn, that pain. It is difficult to find talent at this point of time. And that's where it's important, to seek the leverage of good schools across the country, getting good talent, helping them as well to gain exposure in terms of what the hospitality or the hotel industry needs right now. And I think there's so many things. Technology plays a very, very key role at this point of time, and employee well-being, I must say. A lot of, I've seen a lot of owners, a lot of brands that go that extra mile to look after the health of employees, which becomes a guarantee and a motivation for them to continue working and doing their best every day, whether it's their health or, with COVID coming in. I think that's something which is very important to have. And we've all gone through our own human crisis, personally during this period. So I think it's also about ensuring good employee well-being so that you can sustain the business well, since we're an industry.
Thank you. I mean, yes, it's a very important point that you've covered. I mean, besides the fact that you definitely need, better professionals in the industry given the current situation, but it is also important, to look at employers' wellness. That's a very, very important point that you have covered. And hospitality is all about human connections, I think. And yes, it makes a lot of sense when you talk about it. We'll of course have more discussions on various other aspects, but moving on to our next panelist, we have with us Mr. Bruno Bonca, the Regional Director of the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He's earlier worked in the hospitality sector in Paris and has recently also started a new entrepreneurial venture with his Indian partner. The company is specialized in the renovation of heritage houses, converting them into private luxury homestays. And since we are talking about current trends as well, luxury homestays for sure are one. In fact, as per recent statistics, 70% of the millennials today, they would rather spend their money on experiences than on things. So, Bruno, if I have to ask you, what's your take on this experience economy in hospitality industry? And of course, some of the students might also be having an entrepreneurial mindset. What would be your advice to them?
Sure. In fact, in my previous life in France, I worked in the luxury hospitality industry in the Golden Triangle, and during a few years I worked at the 𝐞𝐦𝐥𝐲𝐨𝐧 Golden Key. So I had this background during 7, 8, 10 years in the luxury hospitality industry. Then I moved to India, work in a different sector, but I still had this, background in my mind. A few years ago, with my partner, we decided to develop this business. We love architecture, we love to renovate old buildings, and we focus on one city particularly, Udaipur. First of all, because the real estate is cheap, and we wanted to purchase a very old property and renovate in our own way, and to target, I would say, the millennium population. When COVID happened, we were in the middle of the renovation work, and we were focused only on Indian clientele. We said focus the foreigners. Everybody in Rajasthan was waiting for the foreigners to come. We say stop that. We have to focus on the Indian market. It's a very good big market. We have a growing high middle class population, and specifically we targeted the millennials, and we focused really on the design and the concept. And I would say since we started in March, it worked quite well, and we are starting the renovation of a second villa, also in Udaipur. And I think it's a great concept because the investment, you need less capital. It's a real pleasure to do all this work, from purchasing to work with the contractor, building the house, developing the concept, create an experience for the client. And I want to say a few keywords. The keyword is privacy. People are looking for privacy. This concept works well. Experience. So we give something a totally different design, which is very different from the traditional Havelis that you can find in Rajasthan. And again, the concept on having your clientele, target specific clientele, niche clientele, because it's a small business. So I said, great, yeah, it was a great experience. We are quite happy as of now by the turnover, and we expect to develop few more properties in Rajasthan. So I think, yeah, for a young person, being an entrepreneur is also an opportunity. India offers a lot of opportunities, but I would say start to work in the hospitality industry, in big group like Taj, build your experience, work in different departments. You can't, be an investor, work in this business without having a minimum few years of experience in the industry.
Thank you. I think that's a very interesting perspective that you've brought in, particularly from an entrepreneurial. Like I said, a lot of students might also be wondering if they want to become entrepreneurs in this sector. So I think this definitely is a very, very interesting perspective for them to hear. Well, we had some viewpoints from the industry experts here. I would like to move towards the academic side, and we have with us Dr. Francis Thomas, the head of Department Management Studies at AACSB Mumbai. Dr. Thomas, as we all know, Indian hospitality has been one of the fastest growing industries in our country. Notwithstanding the COVID impact, it still accounts for over 7.5% of our GDP. Needless to mention, there is a huge role concerning the impact of hospitality education on this industry. Today, institutes like IHMs, or say a global school like AMBA Business School, which offers specialized master's courses in hospitality, these institutions are the driving force for making hospitality more resilient and future ready. So what would be your take on this topic, and how do you think hospitality education can contribute in designing these strategies for changing times?
Thank you all the panelists for sharing your expert inputs on the hospitality industry. If our students are to become a complete business manager or complete entrepreneurs, they have to pursue the postgraduate program in the next maybe 3 or 4 years after the completion of the graduation. If they do not have the postgraduate qualification, they may not have the adequate knowledge regarding revenue management, then international marketing, then technology, and so on. Most of the Indian hospitality business schools in India run a 3-year full-time program. Ideally, it should have been a 4-year full-time degree program. Therefore, there is so much lacuna in the system, and lack of inputs in the curriculum. That can be managed first by converting a 3-year full-time program into a 4-year full-time program. Then they should also think about postgraduate program after the completion of the 4-year degree program and with specialization in marketing, revenue management, HR, or the relevant areas for the hospitality industry. The purpose of our education must be to create the future leaders for the hospitality industry. The current degree program basically focuses on the technical skill rather than the human resource management or marketing or HR skills. Therefore, the focus has to be changed. The futuristic scenario has to be worked out. Accordingly, the curriculum has to be changed. And most of the Indian students have made up their mind. They will pursue their postgraduate study abroad. They will work there for maybe 5 or 10 years. Then again, they will get back to our nation. They will come back to our nation. Then they will contribute for the development of our nation. Those who pursue the education, they have the opportunities because you have already seen there is so much demand for the employees. Only thing, they are not getting the right kind of employees. Therefore, academic institution must be in a position to supply the right kind of employees to the industry so that they will become relevant for the industry in the long run. I think with this, I would like to thank all the panelists once again, and I hope, yes, this will be a fruitful event.
Thank you so much. I think I'll take one point that he spoke, because before I move to our next panelist, this makes a lot of sense. Dr. Thomas just spoke about a lot of Indian students have this perspective that they want to finish the bachelor's, and then for the post-graduation, most of them are very keen to pursue a master's abroad and post-graduation course abroad, work in the industry, the global industry, before they come back to India. Now we have with us Mr. 𝐸𝐸, the director of the Specialized Masters in International Hospitality Management program of EMlyon Business School. So, given what we just heard, what do you think, 𝐸𝐸, are the changes that, for example, you had to think as the director to incorporate from an academic point of view to make the program more relevant in these post-pandemic times? And what would be your advice that you would like to give students looking at a career in the global hospitality management and the ones who would eventually be driving this sector in near future?
So we are just coming back from a full week in London to discover Palace's 4- and 5-star hotel in London. And as probably in all parts of the world, they are complete, full. So, and if you see numbers, let's say tourists are coming back, businessmen are coming back, but they are coming back differently than the start of this crisis, COVID crisis in 2019. So times are changing, really, even if people are coming back fully. I take one example. Of course, everybody has in mind some hygiene, higher standards. This is number one. Okay, we need to discover a safe space when we are coming in a hotel. Second, we have different needs now, and guests are changing. Tourists are changing. They are not looking the same way their travel, and businessmen are changing. What we saw before the crisis, some trends are still continuing, like leisure. So the mix between business and leisure is still there. And maybe it's a nice lever for the hotel to mix the business and the leisure. So it's still there. But we have new trends coming strongly. Probably you observe the life of our world changing a lot. For example, the wind of protectionism are now important. They are important in the US. They are coming in Europe. They are still strong in Asia, especially in China. Maybe we can check in India what is coming. But with these winds, there are other winds coming, like as a tourist, why going so far to discover the world when it's risky, when it's expensive, when it's not good for the planet, okay? Plus, you have the protectionism wind. So one big trend will be to play with local consumers. Of course, Taj, of course, SBM needs to take this new evolution. Maybe you didn't develop too much local consumers. I don't know the level you have for Indian people going in your Taj Chennai or SBM, because as a matter of fact, SBM was built with international consumers. Okay, it's history. So how can we play much more with Italian consumers? So let's say they are local, and of course French. So this is a big trend coming very hard. Second, we have other new trends coming, like staycation. Staycation is, let's say, another evolution of what I just developed, okay? But it's a little bit different. I would like to stay home and travel. So for hotelier, you need to transform all your assets, which are hotel-based, into new one. Okay, rooms need to be different in this model. Okay, I would like to live a little bit longer. I would like to stay a little bit longer. So, for example, I would like to have my own food cooked by myself in my room. Okay, so this is one. Okay, but I have several other trends. So I just would like to go with these little trends, and of course you have tons of trends coming. Health, medical tourism for India, for example. You have a lot of diversified trends, but I would like to come back to the consequence for students. For our students, we need to prepare them to this big evolution of the coming world in the hotel industry. So usually in our history, we prepare our students to, the main target was 5 stars, palaces in the hotel industry. And coming in this field are new actors. So one trend is technology. So I just take an example of a European chain coming from the Netherlands called Citizen M. Citizen M developed, for example, a very efficient self-check-in and self-checkout system. So we need to integrate these new trends, technological. There is a big impact on the guest relationships. So the front of house is very different, is not disappearing at all, but should be aware of the new relationship you need to build with your customers with these new technologies coming quickly. Okay, so we developed these new trends. We developed a new way to behave with guests. So even in old palaces, so we discovered, we went to the Savoy in London, which is a piece of history. And the general manager said that one evolution you would like to have is to be cooler. Meaning that the relationship with customers is not so formal, but so millennials are welcome at the Savoy, okay? But you need to change a lot of things, okay? And our students need to integrate these new behaviors, which is not so easy to integrate. Need to be formal, need to be cool. So what is the balance between this? Okay, so new behavior are now key. So we change a little bit the program, and one way to discover really these new trends is to go in London, in Las Vegas. 𝐞𝐦𝐥𝐲 can develop this nicely, in the US, to have in mind new concepts, to see with our eyes the changes even in very formal palaces like the Savoy, like Dorchester, if we are speaking with the leading palaces in London, or even Four Seasons in Los Angeles, for example. So you have an evolution of the format, and of course a big chain like Marriott, for example, developing the concept edition. Okay, this is a new concept, and it's a nice example of a balance between luxury and cool attitude. So happy to develop this theme with you today.
Thank you so much, Eric. In fact, as you were saying, Alice was also talking about the same thing, that she's totally in concur with what you are talking. The recent trends that you have spoken about, whether it's staycation or whether it's blended travel, business and leisure, or whatever the new trends, and subsequently the new behavior. I think that's also important. With the new trends, it comes the responsibility that the behavior accordingly has to be also revamped in a way, and the young professionals coming into this industry need to be aware of this as well. I think it's a wonderful thing that you've covered from both the trend perspective and as well as the behavior perspective. I'll move to Mithilesh. Mithilesh, of course, as we know, I think a lot of students can relate to him because he was a student just a few years back, and he's right now an alumnus both for AMBA Business School. He did the specialized masters in international hospitality management with EMLyon. He's also an alumnus of IHM Mumbai, and currently he's working as an analyst for one of India's leading hospitality focused research and advisory firms. So Mithilesh, it'll be definitely very interesting to hear your viewpoint and perspective. Since we've also spoken about hospitality education here, there's been a lot of stress on how students how they need to behave, how they need to come into this industry, how good education can help. So we would like to hear how about your experience. Like you did you did it from IHM, you also had the international exposure. So how did all of it help you evolve as a professional today? And since you started a career right amidst and or say just after the pandemic, how do you see the future roadmap given the current trends?
Am I audible? Yeah, I'm just gonna hold the voice, the mic close to my mouth so that I'm clearly audible. So I would like to just share the journey beginning from a student's perspective to a more hotel holistic approach. so that we can begin with students that are 3 years today. To start with, I was working from 2019 onwards, and I faced pre-pandemic and pandemic together. I would say it is a bittersweet moment. At the same time, there is still a lot of opportunities. Earlier, it was not easy if you work in one designated department to get exposure into multiple other departments in the hotel or the hospitality field. Whereas today, people who are curious, who are opportunists, who want to learn, they have opportunities to take in more responsibilities. And I think even the companies really appreciate that. So at the same time, there is more opportunity for the people who are seeking to learn. Moving forward, I would just add that, there's definitely a lot of technology which is changing the market continuously. I would just like to give an example, since we are a research-based firm. A small example, like a smart TV in a hotel. Previously, it was cable TVs, which would cost almost around 2,500 rupees in every room's television set. However, today, an online platform at the same cost can give you subscription to 5 devices. So there are opportunities at the same price point with multiple different accessibility. Such a feature can really, make the cost of the services 25 to 30% of what they are today. So these are a lot of factors where, people can explore and learn from different places. It's just about having the curiosity and the knowledge to observe. The academics definitely give you a strong pillar to have a base on, or the equipments to, research and learn more. But I think today's young students and hoteliers, if they have the right passion and opportunity and curiousness to begin further, this is one of the perfect courses to do, as it will give you a proper jump to, propel you into the future.
Thank you, Mithilyesh. I think that's, again, it should be interesting for the students, from the students' point of view. Before we ask a little more questions, maybe Ashley also wanted to jump in at this point of time. But if there are any questions from students that you particularly want to ask any particular panelist, you can raise your hand and ask a question as well, and or you could write it in the Q&A session. You can just raise your hand and we can let you, ask the question as well directly to the panelist. Meanwhile, if there aren't any, then we would like to give a chance to the students. If there's something specific that you want to ask, please feel free to do it. You can type it, or you can raise your hand and ask the question as well. Just wanted to let you know. Yes, Ashley. So I would, if you wanted to jump in here a bit.
Obviously, thank you so much, Diksha. I mean, once again, it's incredibly interesting to hear all of you guys speak with your own experience, with your own perspective, obviously. But what seems to be bottom line, I mean, what I get as a major takeaway from all that has been said right away is that yes, the industry has gone through a crisis. The industry may still be in a different type of crisis, or in a different type of environment. There has been rebounds in many sectors. I would like to ask you, because obviously there are going to be technological changes. There are going to be different business models that are going to emerge. There are going to be different services or products that are going to be launched. But at the end of the day, don't you think that what is important is the human factor? I mean, this is a human-to-human industry, although there is a lot of capex involved, there is a lot of technology involved, but at the end of the day, the face of the brand, the face of the hotel is the person who is in front of you. I understand, because you all said it, that we're going to go touchless, we're going to go keyless, we're going to go technology, blah, blah, blah. But how does that relate to the experience? you know. Perhaps Athena or Alice, or even, you know, Bruno or Eric or whoever, by the way. But that's my question to you, because I happen to be a customer as well. I mean, I haven't been to Alice's Société Ban Mer, but I've been visiting many brands in the world, and I'm always amazed at the fact that the human factor is sometimes underestimated.
Agreed. I cannot agree more, Ashley. We are talking of technology. Technology in the hotel or in the hospitality industry needs to be a tool, but the human tool is even more important. What makes a difference is the way people like to work in this industry. The word hospitality says it all. Hospitality, the one thing that I say to people, if you do not like people, do not enter the hospitality industry. If you like people, you will always find your way. So I agree, and as you saw, I commented everything that people said. I could not agree more on, you know, technology, sustainability, etc. What we all have to do is to tackle the new generation. And this is very important, that there is this combination of high-level service and friendliness and being more cool. But this is a human attitude.
Exactly.
So we have another thing which is important in my experience in the hotel industry, is that the highest level you are in the hotel in terms of stars, 4, 5 stars palace hotels, is to have the sense of service. We are not the client, we serve our clients. It's not because we serve our clients that we have to be, I don't know how to find the word, but to be servile. I don't know if there is the word servile. There is a big difference. Service means servicing the client, but being not a carpet in front of the client. And coolness is, yes, to be cool, but respect the person on the other side. For me, that's key.
Before you, Athena and Bruno, I can see you guys smiling, so I know exactly where that's come from. And this is something I would like to stress. Thank you, Alice, for bringing this point, because that's exactly something I would like to, you know, to investigate. We had this conversation with Athena many times when I was at the Taj, and I would just like to say a word on why Athena's here on the panel. Because first of all, she's not here on the panel because she is the head of Taj, prestigious Taj hotel or whatever. She is here because she's first of all a great, incredible human being. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we related as human beings at one of her hotels, and that's how the connection was made. Now that I've said that, Athena, could you take this a little bit forward and put what Ali said from a very European perspective and plug it into the in the Indian culture and Indian environment, because I think that's very important.
I think, you know, that's amazing, the insights you've shared, Alice. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly.
You did.
Thank you. So I think India is becoming a lot more embracing towards the diversity and the inclusiveness trend. Initially, I've been in the industry now about 23 years. So when I had joined in the late 90s, there was a particular physical outlook you had to have to join a hotel brand. I remember getting rejected from a 5-star brand that I'm not going to share because my height wasn't, you know, as much as they were expecting it. They said, you know, a guest can't see you from the reception desk. I don't think we can hire you in front office. You know, you're a little dark. I don't think, you know, we're looking for someone fair.
Oh, la, la.
There were certain norms which were hiring norms. And this was in the late 90s. All that has changed because they've realized that you have to balance it off. The human habit is changing. The human behavior is changing. You are hiring people who come with diverse interests, who have more dimension to their own personalities, and that's what helps the people industry thrive. That's my understanding. So for example, in one of the brands that I worked in, my housekeeping team, which was in the back area, were specially challenged. They were specially abled. They may not be able to speak very well. They couldn't hear very well, but they were very happy to work and they could follow instructions very well. So we embraced that. You know, they were doing their work with a lot of heart and soul and commitment. We hired also, you know, people from the LGBTQIA community, which is also now taking, you know, people are being a lot more open to it. India being a conservative country, I see a lot of spaces where people from these backgrounds are gaining employment. So like you said, the human touch, the human connect is very important. And I think hiring and being and building a more inclusive sort of fraternity, especially in a people's industry, is what is going to give you strength, drive business results, because it is these people who can adapt very, very quickly. For example, in IT, I understand, you know, people who may have you know, symptoms of maybe borderline autism do extremely well in the IT sector because they don't get bogged down by monotony and, you know, repeat tasks, and they do it extremely well. And that's what you want. You want consistency. So basically you're hiring a talent for a particular need. You're not sort of saying, no, I only want this particular person. You can't be looking for molds right now in the hospitality industry. You've got to be open to what's there outside. And there's so many people who want to join. So I think that's where the human connect comes as, you know, people in the industry, whether it's schools, colleges, hotels, or any sort of hospitality, travel related business, we have to be more embracing to the talent pool that we want to invest in. And that's where the human connect is going to come. I think he cheered me.
Yes, I don't know where it came from, but he definitely
He agreed with me.
Cheered you when I was trying to figure out. Ashley, I mean, had asked this, but I have to say this is such a you know, very well thought of and very well conveyed what you've just spoken about. I think like that's what I think we've been stressing on, that hospitality industry is all about these human connections, and very interesting to understand, you know, what you faced back then as far as the hiring norms are concerned and how things have changed today. I saw Eric at one point, you know, you wanted to, I think, pitch in and add something. So yes, you'd raise your hand. So I would let him, you know, go.
No. What Athena said is 100% true. And we observed this evolution in different hotels. I had an example with the Hoxton, which is a trendy chain of hotels in Europe, just bought by Accor. It's a 4 to 5 stars hotel. And at the front of house, you sometimes have people with tattoos. This was strictly impossible a few years ago, okay? But these very, very cool guys welcoming you is welcoming you with a lot of politeness, respectful, and he knows who you are as a guest, okay? Because you don't have tattoos, okay? So you need to have a smooth connection, and it's not so easy to establish a nice connection between this kind of stuff. So it's very interesting to see how the balance is done, how the relationship is established between very diverse people, because an hotel is welcoming the full world. Sheikh of Qatar, businessmen of London, Indian customers, US citizens, okay, the full world. But at the front of house, usually you have specific staff. So, and usually the evolution of the hotel was, okay, we have 25% of Chinese people, Chinese consumers. So we will have 1 or 2 Chinese guys in the front of house dealing with these Chinese consumers. But this is no more the case, because millennials coming from China, they don't want to have an interaction with Chinese staff. They would like to have a direct relationship with Indian people because they are in India. Okay, so the world before, with, let's say, American people, European people, Chinese people, okay, they wanted to have connections with their Chinese food, European food, and with people like myself as a guest. Okay? It's no more the case. Of course, you still have this situation, of course, but you have new people asking for a real local connection.
If I may, touch upon what you just said, Eric. Let me ask a very aggressive question. Since you're talking about local connection and you're talking about local experience, what is the future of hotels? Because if I were to look at, a local experience, and if I were to look at, reaching out to people, I would probably, and that's a good news for you, Bruno, I would probably go to see Bruno and visit his guest house, or take a room at on a website that I will not talk about.
But the answer is 2 things. Number 1, evolution of the offer. Okay, you need to integrate this in your offer. I just take one example: evolution of the F&B. Okay, usually in the international hotel, you will have an Italian restaurant, let's say a Western style restaurant, and a local restaurant. Maybe you need to have a real local restaurant, okay, and not a translation of Indian food for Western people. Okay. So F&B is one answer to your offer, but even, and Bruno can talk a little bit about this, the decor of the room, okay? It's no more, let's say, an unpersonal decor, but you are in the country. Okay, so you can mix between modernity and what is in the country and what is the tradition of this country.
Before Bruno says that, I'm going to flip now because I asked for a very aggressive question, and I'm going to say what I think is also important. One of the reasons why I really appreciate Taj being on the panel is because Taj stands for Tajness. Okay, and Athena cannot contradict me on that, I hope. But also, Taj stands for legacy. And let me give you a personal experience I had with Taj, and especially in Taj Lansan. During the events the unfortunate events in Bombay during the attacks in 2011, I with my whole family happened to visit the Hotel Taj Lansan one month after that event, and that Taj suffered tremendously from that attack, especially the Taj Kalaba. When I discussed with the people, when I discussed with the staff, when I discussed with humans, in other words, what they told me was that they were extremely proud to work for a brand like Taj, because Taj had been hit, but Taj had been giving them so much as well. Okay, and when I talk about this, what I mean is that I like to associate myself with values. Okay, so that's something I would like to touch upon. I would like Athena or Alice to talk about it, but obviously Bruno can talk about the other part, because I'm trying to. But there is also a very valid point in wanting to associate with strong values, and those values are carried with strong brands or traditional brands, or that means something. So there is the experience, but there is also the meaning. How do you balance all that?
just before that, I had seen one of the students raising a hand. So please, you can keep it. We'll take the questions. So if there are questions, please don't hesitate. You can raise your hand.
I apologize.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to let the students know that. Yes, yes.
Ashley, when you were talking of values, we have a certain number of values within the company, and then within our own departments, we have a number of values. And our values are very, the first one is excellence. I think in the hotel industry, in the hospitality industry, it's very important. Then it is teamwork. Then it is proactivity. And then the one which I think wraps everything up is integrity. I heard this word at the beginning of the discussion. Integrity is the basis for everything. It is the basis for having a real human relationship with the clients and within the company. That word for me is really, really important. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Please. I know you can add a lot to this because you shed so much on this point.
Yes, in hospitality, we talk about, when we're training people on the business, we speak about people, product, process, and profit. The 4 infamous P's, which are now a little passé, if you ask me. And to integrate with what Ashley shared about the brand that I'm very proud to be working for is, I think, finding purpose. I think that's the 5th P, and that's very, very important at this point of time after what we've been through, the pandemic. Finding purpose, leading with compassion is what I have learned in the tenure that I have spent with Taj. Of course, efficiency, effectiveness is very important, but leading with compassion and really putting your people first, looking after them, making sure in their times of need, in their times of crisis, you're right behind them is important. And a personal experience that I've had is I lost my father this year in April. I was working at the Taj Land's End, and I can't tell you the way the entire hotel was there, the HR team, they were all there when I was taking my father to the hospital. They were right there, they were my family, and they said, you just don't have to worry about anything, we'll help you. And that's what you need at that point of time, that's your crisis. I haven't seen that in any other company or any international sort of a brand. I don't mean to be rude, but the Tatas are industrialists, they believe in community service, and I think their connect with people is immense, and the people reciprocate that, because the people who I work with over here in Connemara, it's a 127-year-old hotel. The people, almost 65% of my team have spent 30 years of their life working in this hotel. They have had their children married off, they have bought homes. Their entire livelihood and prosperity has come out of working for a Taj hotel. And their commitment, I don't even have to tell them what hospitality is or anything. They will give their soul for the guests, simply because, they say, well, we've been looked after, our families are happy. Of course, we will do it of our own. And that's where it's not just lip service, it comes straight from the heart. So those are the values, that's the culture, that's the way it is led, you look after your people at their time of need, and they will really, they will give them more than 100%. So yes, those values of integrity, excellence, unity, all those things, synergize into looking after your people in the true sense. Even when some of their families, they lost loved ones in COVID, I understand, the company did so much for them. Whether it's hospitalization, someone needed a kidney transplant or whatever, they've just been like, okay, my child needed a kidney transplant, and the Taj Hotels or the Tata company was there to help me, with those expenses. So these are some amazing human stories that really bring a sense of belonging to the brand.
Thank you, Athena. Bruno, how do you counter all that? How do you counter all this kindness and integrity?
I can't agree more with Athena, because we work regularly with Taj Palace in Colaba, and I was really happy to discover that before COVID, after COVID, we met the same people. So most of the staff is still there. And I know that a lot of hotels have to, get rid of a lot of collaborators. And it's not the policy of that group. And for us, it's nice and really exciting to work on long term and see the same collaborators at the hotel. And I can say bravo, because it was a very tough time for the big hotels. Business was really down. But the group has done a great job also to take care of their collaborators. On diversity, I can't say more because we work at the Chamber on diversity, and Touch in India is a leader. Particularly for the LGBT and transgender community, which is still a little bit a taboo in Europe, but in India, companies are very active with transgender. They support transgender, they recruit and help transgender, and even they support them financially for their surgery, their transformation, and they finance the surgeries. A company like Tata still are doing that. So we can say that it's really commendable. And experience, I think experience is a very important topic. Because I think, all the hotels are looking for new clientele, the millennium, the young crowd, and I think they will have to revamp a little bit, move away from the Louis XV, Louis XVI chairs with the beautiful Lelière fabric, and go to something which is a little bit more convivial, less formal. People want to feel like at home, like Eric said, with like a piece of heart, something a little more personal. And it's a trend, it has started, but there is a movement on that. And I think that will be very important. And absolutely agree with what Eric was saying. We have to focus more on the domestic market. India is a huge market, and the domestic market is important. And what you were saying, we don't know what's the future of the airline, the cost of the ticket in the next 10 years, what will be the restriction to travel. So obviously this will be like a drastic change, and we have to think about it and maybe try to focus on the maximum on the regional market. Yeah.
Diksha, I think a student had a question.
Yes, I was just trying to see it in the chat. So we'll just take questions. If there are any, please raise your hand, and then we can, before we end the session on from a final note from on our panelists on the last words. If there are questions, please you can raise your hands, and you can ask the questions directly as well. Lower or attendee hands. I'm just trying to figure out if.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Students, I'm sure if you're able to hear me, and I hope you are able to raise your hand, because I've given you the permission to ask questions. That's something that I've already done. I hope you are able to do ask a question if you have one to any particular panelist, or in general to the panel as well. Everything is depending on what is it that you would like to know. Yeah, I guess they're not asking the questions here. So I'll just have to take a final word from our panelists on this. I'm sure it's definitely been an enriching experience for the students to hear them. But I guess now with back to post-COVID times when everything is physical, webinars are not something that students are very excited about. But nevertheless, just to thank everyone, each one of our panelists who has been here with us for this discussion. And before we close this session, I would like to take a final word from each one of you on, quick thing. What is it that you see as the future? If you have to say, in a very short, in a crisp manner, what does the future roadmap look like to you? I mean, what should be the focus on? And of course, the advice for students pursuing hospitality management, because that's the target audience. So we would like to take these two opinions from each one of you as the final word. So we'll start with, as I can see from on the screen. So Eric, why don't we start with you?
So number one, I would be so happy to go back to India because I have so nice rememberings. This is one. It will be easy, Alice, to organize a little visit to Monaco. It's always a pleasure. So this is number one. A little advice for our students. It's true that it's so easy now to enter in this fantastic sector right now. Okay, so why doing long studies? Why? Because you will need to have these long studies in your career. For example, I'm not sure you are ready to manage people. I'm not sure you are at ease with technological evolution. I'm not sure you integrate these balanced behaviors I just talked before. Okay, so you need to have long studies, even if it's so incredibly easy to enter in the sector right now, because there is a thirst of staff. The world would like to hire students. So it's, as a conclusion, it's the right moment, as Alice said, to enter in this sector. It's right now. Okay, thank you. I had so much pleasure.
Right now, yes, this is the right time to enter the sector. Alice, over to you. You'll have to unmute.
Everything that the panelists said, I could not agree more. You saw several times my comments. This industry is a wonderful industry. I entered by chance the hospitality industry, and I never left because I've always loved it. Because as everybody's saying, it's a people's industry. All of what we said, the technology, etc., are tools. And Eric, you are right. Continue your studies, finish your studies, because one day when you are going to have the possibility to evolve, you will have all the tools to take the next step. And this is how you will conduct a beautiful career. Now, I also think that you will be learning your whole life. It's finished to say that you have an academic background and the rest of your life you're going to rely on your academic background. Your academic background will serve you to understand, to be more acute, and then the rest of your life you'll continue learning. Those things are going to evolve very fast. The one thing I would like to say as a conclusion is life is beautiful.
Hello.
Embrace it.
Hello. Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Alice. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, there's, I think, a question from a student. And yes. You can ask the question. Introduce yourself.
Very good evening, respected ma'am and sir. My name is Ayan Cheraji. I am a student of IHM Bhubaneswar. So I would like to ask you, as hospitality industry is improving day by day, and it was not that good in COVID time. So what we are expecting in future, like in the recent few years. So how we should develop the hospitality industry, how we can like bring it, like raise it in top.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Ayan. You can. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody has answered a bit of it already in what they have said. But if there's someone out of the panel who would like to take this. That how can in post-COVID times hospitality industry rise to greater heights?
Talking of technology, we must increase the level of technology to have the basis to remain human beings. So as a student right now, I would really learn how to use technology to be technologically friendly. Okay, the rest, the human will make the difference in their career, and we are a very international world. There is no more international world than international hospitality. So speak several languages, speak different cultures, because what will save all of us is, yes, to be local or regional, but I am convinced that there will still be interactions and people will travel from far away to other places. So speak languages and speak people.
I think you're on mute.
Diksha, you're on mute, which is a blessing sometimes, but not now.
All right, I said thank you, Ayan. I am sure your question has been answered by Alice, and we've heard her last few words as well. Mithilesh, over to you. I'm just going in the sequence that I can see on the screen. So, your last words on this.
Well, I would like to say a holistic development to start with would really help. And if you have the opportunity, you should definitely try, get some experience, understand what you like, what is fixing your profile, because we're always curious and we still want to explore. And this is a good time to, explore, understand. And I think we can, in the next coming year, we can definitely look at, making a stronger base in academics and a university or your preference or the institute you choose would really help you in the long run. It gives you a good base, and that would definitely provide a good pillar for your career ahead. So I think it's time to go explore, and including the university and program, it is multi-dimensional. It teaches in different subjects equally. So there's ample of opportunities to grow in which preference or department you like as well in the future.
Thank you, Mithilesh. Like I said, students can definitely relate more with you since you've just been there, a few years back. So over to you, Dr. Thomas. I mean, the same question to you as well. Your final words on the future roadmap and your advice to young students.
All other panelists have already given the right direction. My few words are, they are in the right industry, hospitality industry. It is going to grow and grow. And number two, they should not limit their education to graduation. They should continue their education. I hope this is a simple message I would like to
All right,
give,
thank you.
And they will enjoy this.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Yes, I think all these students are in fact pursuing the graduation. So yes, it makes a lot of sense when you say that they should not just stop it at their bachelor's in hospitality management, but also look at doing a post-graduation or a master's. Something which our school of course offers as well. They should look at an specialized master's in hospitality as well before getting jumping into the industry to work within the industry. Bruno, over to you.
What I will say, it's a very exciting period, and the next period will be probably a real revolution in the hospitality sector. And I think there is a need for creative people. In the past 10, 15 years ago, it was quite a conservative sector. But because of this revolution, I think there will be a need of more and more creative people. So gives lots of opportunity. And I think it's, the business is doing quite great. And it's a promising sector. This new development can give new opportunities, I think, for creative people.
Yes, Ashley would have just said that, okay, you were speaking again without it. But thank you, Bruno. Yes, creative people are something that are definitely needed in this industry, given the current situation as well. Athena, you've anyways, said some really wonderful stories as part of your experience as well in this panel. But yes, the final word from you. You're doing the same thing what Ashley told me. So you'll have to unmute yourself.
But that's not true for her.
I know that was coming.
Apologies. So the future is how you respond to your present, and it's very important how you make your present, how rooted you are. The future can be as uncertain. We've all gone through that change in the last 2 years. And dealing with uncertainty has also given us the ability to accept how we can, look at contrast. On a day like this today, for example, my hotel is extremely busy, but I also have a cyclone to deal with. So I'm making great money, but I also have to be cognizant that there's a cyclone outside. So I don't know what emotion is going on in my mind right now, but I'm making the most of this wonderful panel discussion. My 2 bits of advice and what I'd like to share with the students is grow your hobbies. Education is very good. Complete your education, study, but grow your hobbies. Play football, play cricket, whatever sport excites you. We can't remain myopic to our phones all the time. There's only that much you can learn. You've got to go out and interact with people in different forums, and sports, I feel, is a great way. Go watch theater, watch some music recitals, because all these hobbies help you build your conversation skills with guests. You can't just keep asking guests how's the weather and how was your journey. So the more hobbies you have, the more you interact with people outside your industry, it's going to help you personally. The second part for the students is take time out to go and sit in the lobbies of different hotels, in different cafes, in different restaurants. Be observant of how people who are working there carry themselves, how do they speak. Enjoy a cup of coffee in one of the lobby lounges in a hotel, see how that service comes to you, whether you as a customer feel happy being served with a smile. Go visit the washroom, see how immaculately it's kept or what your feedbacks are, because the more you start engaging your senses towards how a guest feels, that really builds skill once you begin your career. So these are just 2 simple things.
These are 2 simple and 2 fantastic advices that you could have given to these young students. I think it makes a lot of sense, and this is something that you should definitely do, students, if you're hearing out Athena here. Ashley, we would before we of course thank you, we have already thanked all our panelists, but I would want you to give the closing remarks before we end the session.
No, I mean,
and I think on that note, I would also like to say that next time we are doing this physically.
Yeah,
we're planning a physical event and not a webinar now.
See, a lot of incredibly interesting things have been said, so I'm not going to be too long. I just wanted to share my two cents perspective. I think in life there are 2 types of people: people who say why and people who say why not. I think if you're looking at life in general, I'd rather be the why not type of person. That's the first thing, because as Athena said, and all of you have said, I don't know what the future is going to be all about, but I believe that I can withstand anything that comes my way. That there has to be a sense of self-confidence, not because I am who I am, it's because I can rely on other people. I have a support group, so it's important to have the support group, to build a support group in order to deal with things the way they're going to come to you anyway. The second thing I would like to say is that learn to grow and don't learn to score. In other words, learn to grow and don't learn to score. It's not because you don't graduate to get a job. Graduate to learn and learn to learn, because you have to stay relevant. If I listen to all of you, and if I want to be honest, and if I want to give honest feedback, okay, the pace of technology, the uncertainty of life, etc., means that at the end of your graduation, at the beginning of your graduation, let's say at the end of your graduation, whatever you learn is going to be obsolete, in the sense that there is such an incredible pace of an evolution that if you stick to your stock of knowledge, you will miss on the flow. And that's what Athena said when she said to stay relevant, when she said to meet with people, see how things are evolving, grasp the coming trends, and do not stay stuck with the past. That's very, very important. The last thing, and I keep saying it to my team, so I'll share it with you. And Athena also, once again, I'm sorry, I always relate to Athena because I cannot forget the incredible conversations we had. And by the way, she recited poetry, etc., so she really walks the talk, okay? She doesn't just ask you about the weather. But I keep saying this to my team, and I would like to once again share with you. What you are speaks so loudly to my ear that I don't hear what you say. In other words, it's important to be somebody, because that's the way you're going to relate to other people. You know, it's not about the level of knowledge. It's not about the level of skills. It's who you are that is important in any walk of life or in any industry, by the way. So since we are in the people-to-people industry, what you are is very important. And if you want to be relevant, you need to be constantly moving. And that's, I think, what is the essence of what is in front of us anytime, any place. And that's what we need to tackle.
Thank you, Ashley. I think that was a really nice way to end this. And yes, I would like to once again thank all our panelists, students who joined this webinar. We'll of course be promoting this on social media as well, so that those who missed out on being a part of the webinar can hear the experts. And if you want to get in touch with us after that, we will be sharing. In fact, I'm going to share the ID here with everyone. In case some of the students want to reach out to us, you can send us a mail to our ID if you want to know more about our programs as well. We'll be more than happy to help you out with it. So yes, thank you to all our panelists. This was a very wonderful discussion from different parts of the world. We had a wonderful panel, and can't thank you all enough on behalf of the entire India team of the emlyon Business School for making it, taking our time from your schedule, and doing this for students, for the young generation. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Happy
Thank you very
holidays.
much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you all for being on
Thank
the
you very much. Thank you.
bottom of my heart.